Hey guys and gals, it's Mike on the digital team with Crystal DTF. So I'm going to work today on this image. It's PAT Crew, pre-admission testing. It's something that just got submitted to the Crystal DTF group. And I want to show you how to improve an image like this and just make it great. So as I do with most things these days, I start with ChatGPT. And I've uploaded the original image, and then I've also gone into Photoshop, which you can use Photopea for this. And I've just selected the area of the image that I want to focus on, and then, copied it. So I just select it with the marquee tool, which I'm in Photoshop, but like I said, you can do it in Photopea, and hit Control-C. Then I just paste that into ChatGPT, and I've said, we're going to be working on improving this image. Each piece of the design we will focus on separately. And that's the key thing. So that's the key skill that I want to teach everybody, is that you can work on just one part of the image with ChatGPT and then recombine it, and do your final composition in Photoshop. Okay, now I've finished my prompt. So I've got this as kind of an opener because I plan on just using this same context window with ChatGPT, several times in a row, which is not something I always do, but it's what I'm going to do this time. It just feels right. And I said we're going to work on improving the image, and then let's improve just the 3 letters PAT, keep the same style and palette. This is the part of my prompt that's going to change each time. So I've just got that separated here. Recreate and redraw this part of the design. Isolate on white. Keep the colors consistent with the original, but ensure crisp, clean lines. Print ready, production quality. Isolate just this one element on its own layer. So this is all the pieces of my prompt that I'm going to reuse. And let's talk about why I think that we need to improve parts. So I think that there's lots of messy parts here, and I just want to take the time to make sure that I can, improve all the different pieces. So, there's these little shines right here. See these little shines? Hopefully you can see my mouse movements. And, the P is missing one. So if ChatGPT doesn't fix that, I'm going to need to add that in just to maintain consistency, in my opinion. The bottom of this heart, just looks a little bit messy. I think that white line should connect. Now, that's just all my personal opinions, and definitely different people are going to have different opinions about that. I really dislike the bottom of this stethoscope because I love the idea of making it a heart, but I dislike the fact that this line doesn't connect with that line. So, I think that this is too dark. I'm not real sure about that. That's probably arguable. I don't like the fact that this eye here is not the same color. The dot is different. And I don't like that we kind of melted 2 different colors when all the other ones are, one color. So there's lots of little things that I think can be improved. And a lot of these elements we can just draw right in Photoshop. So, we're going to recreate this, but with ChatGPT's help. Okay, and so I'm not really happy with the result. It is better. It is a little flatter. There's still a little bit of this, flatter, it's a little more level across the bottom. I forget the word for that, for a font. But it didn't help me with the shine. And so I'm just going to ask it to. I'm just going to give it back its result again and ask it to do a better job. So I'm conversational with AI. And I actually typoed right there. I said, nice work, but I was like if you added a little shine on the top left of each letter. I see faint hits of it on the A and the T, but nothing on the P. Can we take this up and make it consistent? So let's see. Awesome. I think that's great. It did exactly what I was hoping for. And not exactly how I would have done it, but saved me a little bit of time. So we're going to download that element, and now we have that. And I'm going to get rid of things that are not related to my current project. Looks like I downloaded it here, so I don't need to keep that version. And I'm just going to rename this PAT, just staying organized from the very beginning. So now let's work on this stethoscope. So I'm just going to select just that area. And then I'm going to put it in and write the prompt. So I always love to praise the AI that's going to protect us from being destroyed in the future Terminator. movie. And I'm just going to, just copied from above, and I'm going to edit this and explain what I want done with the stethoscope. I learn a lot trying to explain to AI things, because I know it's smarter than me. So, I'm telling it to focus on the stethoscope. The original artist did not handle the transition into the heart shape very well. It seems disconnected. The tube should come down and lay over the part underneath, and it should look like one connected piece instead of having the strange tail off the heart that goes nowhere. It needs to be one connected tube and flow into, and I don't know what you call that piece that goes up against your chest, and I'm going to have to go look that up. And I'll mention that I also wanted to ask AI to improve the overall design, because there's some shines and some inconsistency in that artwork. But asking it to do too much sometimes is a trouble. So it's going to have enough problem doing what I want it to do here that I'm going to just, let it be and see if we can't, get what we need. And I was obviously not clear enough because it just can't do it. So I decided the solution here was to actually start a new window. And if we can't get it this time, we'll just draw it ourselves. I also was just a lot, I just completely rewrote what I was asking for here. This time I've actually asked it to enhance. Let's improve the stethoscope, keep the heart shape, and make it flow back into the bell. So we'll see if she can figure this out, and if not, we'll draw it. And it's given us a much cleaner image, but it's still got the same problem. So we are going to have to draw it. So let's focus on fixing this one part. So we're just going to go into upscale and select that image and open it. And we want it nice and big because we want to work on it. So I'm going to go 5120, which is really big, but that's going to make it easier for me to get in close and work on the detail. So I'm actually going to leave the white background on at first. At least that's the tack that I'm going to take, from the start here. And I'm just going to try to draw in the actual shape to connect these two. So, what AI is having a problem with is it's just not sure how to maintain the heart shape and, connect back to itself. So we're just going to draw a pretty curve. So I'm using the pen tool. I'll turn off the fill so it doesn't get in our way and just turn on a black line so we can see something. And we'll just try to connect this side. So we're just trying to, we're not trying to be perfect. It's not, it's a t-shirt design. It's not the Mona Lisa, as a good friend of mine likes to say. And now I'm just going to connect here and not worry about that part because I'm just focused on, how we're changing this. And then I'm going to take this and actually need to just pull this right here. I'm going to try to stay the same thickness. And, nope, that one's placed poorly. So let's look at our thickness. Try to keep that the same. And then just come up here and pull that in. And then you can see the problem. So I'm just hitting Control Z, Control Z. For me, with curve drawing, it's all just trial and error. I don't have a formula for it, just many years of practice. And we'll just act like that's going to die right in there. And then come back and connect here. Okay. So now I've drawn two shapes, to represent these two bottom parts. And I'm just going to merge them together so that they're just one object. Control E with both selected. All right, let's do some painting. So we're going to do Control Shift N to do a new layer, and I'm going to call it Paint. And then I'm just going to select this color. So here's our color for our edge. And I'm going to switch to my brush tool by hitting B and make it a reasonable size. And then I'm going to Control click this layer, and I'm just going to paint that color in. And then we'll just paint it in down here. And I've got my brush set to full, fully hard. And then I'm going to do Control-Shift-I and start getting rid of some of the parts that we don't want. We know we can use this as a mask. So we can use this layer we've got here as a mask and just kind of paint white along that edge and have it, control our edge for us. We just need to be careful at the start and the finish. And then we can get rid of all this. Let's just get rid of that. Bigger brush always helps. So we'll just make our brush bigger. And you do that with the bracket keys right above the enter key. You got to be really, good at making your brush different sizes quickly. And then we'll just switch to our magic wand tool. See, we had to get rid of all that down there. I didn't explain that. See, that's not connected to that one, and it's not connected to that one for sure. It doesn't look like it's matching up. So we've got to fix it down here as well. And so we'll switch to our magic wand, and we'll just hit Control-D to deselect, and then we'll select this, and we'll do that same thing, Control-Shift-I to select outside of it, and then switch to our brush tool and use that as our mask to get that tight edge right there. And we'll just use those same techniques, we'll control-click. We're control-clicking to select the layer, and then Control-Shift-I, and then we'll switch to this color, and we'll just paint that in. Try to get that along that edge. So we're just laying in the paint part. Yep, I went too far there. So I hit Control-Z. Control-Z is your friend. And I got into that part this time. So let me just get a smaller brush and lay it in a little bit at a time here. Oops, see, I didn't want to get into that. I wanted to actually keep that part. So I'm just gonna lay this base layer down. All right. And we can see this white part is kind of dying out right here. So let's try to do that same thing, Control-Shift-I, and we'll select this white, and we'll just see if we can't end this pretty quickly. Control-Shift-I. We'll just see if we can't end this part pretty quickly. Just kind of die it off right here. And even that little oddity right there doesn't matter. But that should kind of finish that off. You can make it die out a little longer. Just something that it's not going to attract our eye like there's a big problem right there. And then we'll try to fix the bottom of this scope. So we're going to select the shape again. I'm going to hold Shift and select this part and then do that Control-Shift-I trick. I just use that all the time. And I want to mention that this is easy because I'm so big. I've just got such a big document that I'm working with here, So I'm just going to try to freehand this in and make that work. I'm tilting my head. I know there's a way to rotate my document because my good friend does that all the time, and I don't know exactly how he does it. Select that color, and then we're just going to paint this. Nope, that looks awful. Maybe I need to, no, my smoothing's up. I'm not sure what my problem is. Let's see. Let's just pull a stroke. Yep, it's better than the original. Nope, terrible. You're seeing my mouse drawing skills here. They're not tremendous, if you can't tell. Alright, and then we'll grab this pink and we'll put that on another layer. We'll do Control-Shift-N and we'll put it below, and that's going to let us paint this underneath. Oh, the white is in our way. Okay, so we'll just select this area and then we'll just paint it in. So we'll put that above actually and switch to our brush and just paint that in. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and delete everything on this layer. We'll just delete this layer completely, right click, delete layer. You can also hit your delete key and we'll just paint that in. Boom, boom. Could also just use our paint bucket tool. It just feels a little less cool. So not perfect, and I could tweak this endlessly, but it's a small detail and it's so much better than it was that I'm just going to let it go. We want to make sure to turn off our shape so we don't get those little black edges. I'm okay with it. I could sit here and tweak this endlessly. Like I said, we're zoomed way in and we're focused on this part. And our goal was just to make, you not see that huge glaring mistake in the design. We can sit here and fix up the little foibles that we have. Or we could just let it go. Let's move on. All right, so let's knock the background off this. I'm gonna grab my magic wand, select the inside, select the outside, look for any problems. I don't see anything. Let's merge everything down. So I select everything, Control E, and then we'll turn off that little lock icon. And then we're going to do Control Shift I to select the inverse. And we're gonna push in. We might not need to push in, but there's, sometimes a little faint glow around the edge, so we'll just push in just one. Select, modify, expand 1 pixel. Nope, that went the wrong way. Yep, we're contracting at this point. Select, modify, contract 1 pixel, and then I'm just going to hit Control C, Control Shift V, and I'll delete this layer. And then I'm going to do Image Trim, Transparent Pixels, and I'm going to save this. We're going to export it, quick export as PNG, and we're going to call it Stethoscope. If you ever wonder what I do when I fix your all's images or work on your artwork, this is it. So we want to stay organized. Let's delete these elements we're not going to use and just keep our artwork organized. And I think it's time to start putting pieces together. So I'm going to select this Pat image and just upscale it. It's so easy. We don't need to go quite 5x, 4x, even 3x looks like it's plenty, but I'm going to go 4 just to be above it, what I think I need. And then I'm just going to repurpose this original. I'm going to give myself some room, so I'm going to do Control D to deselect, grab my crop. I want to clear my ratio. I had a ratio set, and I'm just going to bring this out. And I'm not so sure that I don't know why we're choosing that background. Oh, I see. I need to set this. And I'll just pull this out and pull this out. So I needed to set my background image or my background color before I started doing my crop. I'm just giving myself some room to work, and then just hit enter. Now we need to expand the size. So we're going to go image size. And so this is going to make the quality of this original image go way down. But I'm just going to do, let's see, we're going to set it to, we'll turn off resample. We'll set this to 300, so it's 5 inches. We'll turn resample back on, and we'll set this to 20 inches. Actually, I'm going to go 24 because I've got so much white space around the outside. And hit OK. You don't want to just go crazy, crazy big because your computer can't handle that. Now I'm using Control minus to zoom out and Control plus to zoom in. So I'm holding Control and hitting Control minus and Control plus. And then to move around the document, we hold space bar, and that switches your current tool to a hand so you can just move it around. Okay, and so that's our background, and we're going to start cleaning up the rest of this stuff. So let's bring in Pat, and I just drug it from my downloads folder and dropped it in, and I'm just going to hit enter. Oops. I had clicked on my downloads folder, so it opened the image. Hit enter to confirm, and then I can double click on the smart object because it makes a smart object when it brings it in like that. And then I'm just going to select these areas. And this is one of those things I'm so happy to show you guys. If I knew what color shirt this was going on, then I could make better decisions. Like I could knock out all this white inside, but not knowing if it's going on a black or a white shirt, I can't, because I don't know. So I'm just going to hit select, modify, expand 1 pixel. We're going to preserve the white. We'll turn off that layer lock, hit delete, image trim, transparent pixels, Control S to save back to our main document, which is this one right here. And it shows back up without the background. Now's the time to save. So let's save this, and I'm going to figure out what to call this image. And we're saving it as a PSD, and you'll be doing the same thing in Photopea if you don't have Photoshop. Okay, so this is a great time to just close all my other documents. I don't need to keep those open and hogging my memory. And since this is a smart object, we can now resize this. We can even go smaller and then make it bigger, and it won't harm the quality. I mean, that's the beauty of smart objects. And we'll just kind of position this right about where it was. I know I'm going to need a little bit of that. I know that I want this to be centered. In my opinion, it needs to be very centered, but I'm also a symmetrical person. So I'm just going to switch to my move tool and set my alignment to canvas and then center it. And so that's just forcing center on that. I'm going to grab this. No, I'm not. I was about to say I'm going to grab this background. I'm just going to let those overlap because it's not hurting me at this moment. Okay, so let's work on this crew. And now I'm just going to start rocking and rolling, right? So let's grab this heart. I know this heart is something I want to be improved. It just looks messy. So I'm going to let ChatGPT work on that and paste it in. Let's improve this. We're going to get rid of all this. Just being lazy and not wanting to retype. And this heart shape. Yeah. Helps if we actually write the right words. We want to choose create image, and we're just going to hit go. And we'll let that work while we're working, and we'll come over here and we'll handle these other elements that we can. So we're just going to grab our magic wand, and I'm going to select this, and this, and this, and we're just going to select those three areas, and then we're going to go to our paths, and we're going to click this little icon down here. This I'm not sure how it works in Photopea. And then I'm going to do layer, and I'm going to do new fill layer, solid color. And I'm just going to name it sprites, springs. What do you want to call those? Okay. And then we'll start working on, we'll choose a color now. We're going to choose it off this crew because that matches. And that is what we're going to use for that color throughout the document, you know. So we made those sprites, and we're just going to duplicate that layer, okay? And then we're going to grab I grabbed my move tool, and I'm just going to do transform, flip horizontal, and drag it over and put them about where they're supposed to go. Okay, and then I'm going to grab both of those sprites and hit Control G to group them, and then I'm going to center that group. So now they're centered in the document as well. Okay, so the crew part. So let's handle that. That's the next really big element. And so I'm going to take this original. This is the one I got from my friend, and I'm just going to select that and upscale it so that I can get some really clean lines on that crew. So let's just boom, upscale. I'm showing you lots of different techniques, mainly to keep you engaged and keep some interest flowing, because you can do all of these things 1,000 different ways. But also, you know, just so you can see all the different ways you can go after something. So now we have an upscaled version of the original. This is probably what I should be doing my design on. I wish I'd actually done that. Let's bring that in. That's going to be better. Let's just bring that into our, I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it original. All right. And I'm going to bring that into this document where we're working. And I'll turn everything off. And I'll take that original and I'll set the opacity down. And I'll just lay it over so everything matches up. Okay, and that way we can just delete this background. And we'll turn these back on. And I'll increase that opacity again so we can see what's going on. And then I'm going to put a solid color of white just down below everything so we're not distracted. And there we go. But what I was talking about was how to get this crew. So let's just double click into that smart object. And this is the upscaled version of our original. And I'm just using my magic wand and I'm just selecting. Now my tolerance is really high. I have it set to 100 and contiguous. And so I'm just going to select that. And see, this is where, I get too picky probably. I worry about these types of things. And I do think that actually adds to the design. And that's something I'm struggling with as we speak. So I'm going to lower my tolerance and see if it will not wipe out so much. No, it is. I mean, it's just wiping out, part of that, especially the sharpness of it. So we're just going to try to draw that back in. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to take this out. I'm holding Alt, and I'm just finishing off this part. And I really did a ragged job of that. But, I'm holding Alt again, and I'm fixing it. And I'm going to try to do the same thing here. Fix it. Alright, I took too much, so I'm going to hold Shift. Kind of just like push and pull here. Just like you were painting something. And then I'm just going to make this a little smoother. And I may be botching it, but we're getting something. And I'm just going to hold Alt and draw along that edge. And then I'm just doing a piece at a time. I don't want to have to hold my breath for too long. And I'm just going to hold Alt and select along here and try to draw a sharp edge. And now I am really focusing on this part because that's hard. And I'm trying to preserve the thickness. I think I got that. And then we'll just come in here. And my goal is to have like a really solid actual finished shape. And that was not good, so I'm going to try that again. Hold Alt. Yeah, I'm just being shaky. I got shaky hands this morning. So Control Z each time I make a mistake. And try again. And that's the beauty of computer-aided graphic design. Because we don't have to be perfect like we do in the real world. We've got Control Z. Alright, and you're gonna see these flaws, in your own work and in my work here, and you can see me making the mistakes, so you'll really spot them and look for them, and that's okay. We zoom in closer and we look at it harder so that no one else does. So just a little bit of that will help that. Trying to make that part sharp. Really fine details there. Okay. All right, so let's just take that. We're going to do Control C, Control Shift V. And we've got it isolated. And then I'm going to export this. So I'm just going to put this, you can just export it right here. Boom, boom, boom. Nope, I'm going to duplicate this layer on New. And then I'm going to trim it. And then I'm going to give it some size around it because I don't like to work right up to the edge. So we'll give it 500 pixels around it, just based on its size. And then this is probably too big to trace. So I'm just going to do image size. I'm going to set it to 300 just for my brain. And turn off resample. So it's 15 inches wide. I certainly don't need that much. Let's do 6 inches wide. And I'm going to do 300 here. And we'll hit OK. So I've shrunk it a bit. And then I'm going to do blending options and color overlay. And I'm going to make it black. And then I'm going to export it. Export. Quick export as PNG. I'm going to call it Crew Black. And then I'll pull open Inkscape. So Inkscape's a totally free program. And it is a lovely little vector tool. And I just drug that in I'm going to trace bitmap, which you'll find on our path trace bitmap. And I'm hitting apply. And I'm going to go look at how well, yeah, a little bit of problem down here. I don't like that extra little blob, being really picky. I'm just going to grab my node editor and I'm going to select that, Control A, and delete it. Oops. So there's my shape. Control Shift R, and that shrinks it right around. And then I'm going to save this as crew SVG. And I'm going to go back to my Photoshop documents. And I'll close this, no. Close this, no. This one is the one I upscaled earlier, but now we have that in the main document. And I'm just going to bring that crew right in. And I dropped it on the stage and I'm just sizing it up. So I'm not holding shift when I size. In Photoshop, the default now, used to be you held shift to constrain proportions, but the default, I think today, is to not do that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be right where the original was. You know, we're just going to stay close. And then we'll just hit enter. And now this is where we need to start using that color. So we're going to do right click, blending options. We're going to do color overlay. And then we're just going to pick that color. And I'm picking off not the original springs, but the ones that we made, I think. Let me hit OK on that. So OF2653. Okay, let's turn this off. And let's hit this. OF2653. Yeah, we're using the right color. And this crew, I'm not sure if we want to center it or not. I don't think we do. I think that my brain wants to, but it's visually weighted over here. So I think it's actually better if we grab a ruler and pull it out and kind of look. So this can be, yeah, that's nice right there. That's nice. It kind of comes up into that space between the P and the A. That's where we're going to center. Okay, and so we're now going to pull that stethoscope in. And we'll size it down. And I'm just going to like place this the way I want to. And, you know, kind of look and see how the original is. I know this is kind of a big part of the design. But, you know, one of my problems with the original design is it's kind of lopsided. See, wouldn't this go better over here? You know, sometimes I struggle with myself. Wouldn't this go better if it was flipped? Let's just look at that. No. Yeah, we don't like it as much. Okay. So let's elongate it slightly. I'm going to hold shift and let it stretch down just a little bit. I don't know, that's distorting that circle. So I'm not going to let that happen. Let's just tilt it a bit. My problem is it's making the design slightly unbalanced. So can I take this and give it some grace and then come over here and just kind of pull that stethoscope down? Let's look at where it was placed in the original. So yeah, it fits up here. And the one that ChatGPT made for me is a little bit less, let's see. These are the things that I fixate on too much. Yeah, see those are my edges right now. So if I turn this off, those are my edges. And so I really kind of need Pat and this group 1 centered in there, but then this thing's in my way. So I'm just going to let that go. And I'm going to have to find something to balance it on this side. Oh, I bet our heart is the answer. All right, let me clear my guides. So I'm just going to take my guides off because I think they're confusing me. And let's see if we can get that heart to balance it. Let's go grab that. So here's that. Yeah, that looks a lot better. And we'll upscale her. We don't need to go that big. 3,000 pixels is already extremely large, and we only want that much so we can get a clean edge when we chop it off. Okay. Before I pull it in, I'm going to rename it. Green heart. And then we'll pull it in, and I might make the heart bigger than it was in the original design to help balance things. So we're just doing all things that you've seen before. Select, modify, we're going to expand, go in 1 pixel, we're going to delete, Control D, image trim, Control S, close it, and there's our giant heart. So let's see if we can't balance this side. And what I'm looking at is like how far from the edge of this sproing does that heart stick out? And then how far from here does this heart stick out? And now that I've made that kind of connection, I'm going to make them look similar so that they like kind of even themselves out. We love symmetry. All right, let's see how the original treated. Yeah, that had the heart a lot smaller, and I think that this is going to balance it and stick it out and make it more even. And that's going to affect my placement of crew. So this is my crew. I'm going to come, whoops, crew. I need to turn off auto select. I'm not even sure how that gets turned on sometimes. I'm going to bring my crew back in line now that I know that I have my heart, providing that balance that I felt like we needed. So let's do the other elements. We're just going to do a lot of these little elements, and I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to group it, and I'm going to call it artwork. And I just noticed that I was lazy before when I made this group. That's our springs. And now we can turn the artwork off and look at the original. And let's draw in some of these simple, easy shapes. So we're going to grab this ellipse tool. I'm going to pick this pink color and decide that that's going to be my pink. And I'm just going to come up and draw that circle. And I'm drawing it on the actual artwork folder, so we're not even seeing what's happening because it's hidden. I'm going to group it, and I'm going to call this circles. And we'll just draw in the rest of these. So we're going to choose our yellow color, and once we do this, we're going to stay consistent with that yellow. I'll draw in this guy, and I'm going to turn the artwork layer on so I can see where I'm putting stuff. All right, so this ellipse is in the wrong place. Let's just pull it down so it's visible. And I have no idea why that's not showing. It doesn't show a color. Oh, pink. Yeah, I'm actually really confused by that. Hang on. Oh, it's because my fill on my ellipse is not, yeah. So there's my yellow. And here is my pink. And then I want to turn off on both of those the stroke. No stroke. No stroke. Okay. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm not real happy with my pink one. We'll call this pink. And we'll call this yellow. And I'm going to choose a different pink. Let's try this softer pink. Oh no, I like the darker one. All right, that's what we're going with. And so I've got the yellow, I've got that pink. Now I can just duplicate this layer or just draw it out. So I can just choose this color, and then I can go back to my ellipse tool. And it's nice to just kind of draw each one of these because it makes it, you get little variations that are really nice. And then I choose a purple. Let's pick this purple right here. All right. And we'll draw this out. And then we'll choose a green, and I'm going to choose the green of this bar. And we'll draw this out. Oops, I think I was just drawing all those on that same layer. Sorry. Let me deselect. Not sure what I need to do here. Control-Shift-N. And so yeah, my pinks, it's both of those are connected. And then here I got a new layer. I've got this ellipse tool. I'll choose my purple again. I'm going to draw that out. I'm holding Shift. You have to actually hold Shift, which is weird. Now I'll choose this green. Okay, and I'll do Control-Shift-N. And we'll draw this little green guy. And so why are we redrawing these elements? It's because we're going to have these nice flat colors instead of the originals that have this texture to them. And maybe that's something that they want, but you know, I'm kind of flattening this out, making it vector. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to do some of these other elements and just kind of skip ahead to show you, because I want to get into the text. And I'm just going to kind of fill in these background elements while I have the recording paused. Okay, so I've got my dots recreated down here. And I've just followed a different color scheme almost entirely. So I'm going to call this left dots. I mean, no, the color scheme is the same. I have just, I'm going to flip that and put it over here. I've just made sure that it actually matched the, you know, like it's going in order, okay? And now I'm reversing the order over here, so that looks nice. And so this is our right dots. Okay, we are in the home stretch, don't you worry. So now I have got, I think, unless I'm missing something dramatic, all the elements recreated. I actually think we could put some more dots in here, maybe a star. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn on auto select and just kind of move some of these elements around so that they're more appealing, at least to me. And I'm going to duplicate this layer. Let's duplicate layer. And we'll put another star, you know, right in here. And then we're going to duplicate, grab some of these, grab like that yellow dot and move it. We don't want it to get confused. Yeah, we just want it to be an accent. Yep. And then we'll grab one of these pink dots. And then we'll just grab one of these pink circles. Oh, so the pink circles are not on their own. We'll just duplicate this yellow circle and put it up here, and we'll make it smaller, just a skosh, and then we'll change its color to the pink. Boom. Alright, I think that adds something. Okay, so we are so close to done. We literally just need this text. So we're just going to start grabbing it. We grabbed our magic wand. We got our tolerance up. This is an upscaled image. I'm going to grab all of these pieces. So I'm literally just holding shift and selecting. This one I need to select like crazy. Just click all over it because we got those inconsistencies. I'm just going to grab all of these. Sometimes it is helpful, especially, you know, on the ones that have a little more color and consistency, to like shift click them in a few different places. I'm just being careful. Okay, and then we're going to Control C, Control Shift V, and I'm going to convert this to a smart object. No, I'm just going to duplicate the layer and put it over on our Pat Crew. And so my original is turned off. Now I've got my text there. So this is pre-admission. Okay, and we're going to straighten it up. You know, line it to canvas, and then scoot her up. So that's about where she's going to sit. Yep. We're just going to use these top lines and then the bottom hearts. Yep, I think that's it. And then we're going to look at it. So we want to cut it up. So we're going to grab this. We're going to grab this. We're going to separate it by color. And grab this. And we're just going to cut that. Control K, Control V. And then do blending option, color overlay. And I am going to choose this pink right here. Stay consistent. And then we'll cut this. Yeah, this is bothering me right here. I'm going to make that a purple. I don't know. It's a really tough choice. I see why the AI might have done that. We'll look at it together. Make a decision here. So we're just going to grab all of these. I kind of messed up there, so I'm going to hold Alt. Make sure that I'm not getting part of that S. So I'm just holding Shift. This is my lasso tool. I'm just selecting all these areas. And we're just going to go back to our pre-admission, hit Control X, Control V. I'm going to put all this in a group, and I'm going to call it pre-admission, or just pre is enough. And then we'll do our color overlay. So we'll just copy this layer style and paste that layer style, and then we'll change the color of it to our selected purple. Boom. So we're staying consistent. And so, putting these color overlays are really important, because there's like lots of inconsistent color in here, and it's just going to make it look polished and professional to have all these be the same. So let's separate out our green. Oops, got into that yellow, but that's okay. We'll just hold Alt and deselect that part. And this is all working because this is isolated. There's no background on this. So I can just kind of pull it the way I want to. And we'll just cut that off and paste it. And then we'll paste that layer style. And then we'll choose our color. Oh, and the green I want is right there. All right. Click it. Boom. Okay. And then all that's left is the yellow. So we'll just paste the layer style, color overlay, and grab our yellow that we've been using. And I've added in a few dots to kind of fill in stuff. I put these stars over here because, we don't have that tail of the stethoscope that we didn't want anymore. So that felt a little empty. But I think this is our final artwork. And if you followed along this long, I know you've learned a ton. And I really thank you for watching my video. I'm going to just wrap this up now. So we're going to do our view, guides. I'm going to get rid of that ruler. I don't want to see that ruler anymore because I'm just going to do my final here. And I'll turn off the background. And I'll look at my overall image size. We're huge. Now, because of the way we've created these elements, we can actually scale up if we had to. We're not going to want to. We're going to want to go down. So we're just going to do image, trim. We want to get our final dimensions. And then we're going to do image size. Wait a minute. Save. Save your PSD. Don't save it again. It's done. But now we're just going to do our image size. And I'll set this to 15 because that's the largest that I consider anybody's ever going to need for a t-shirt at least. And then I'm going to take this whole artwork layer. Oh, that pre was not inside there. And I'm just going to convert it to a smart object. So now it's all just like one layer. And then I'm going to rasterize it as a piece. And then I'm going to do layer, mask from transparency, Alt select the mask, and then do image adjustments threshold. And hit OK. And we are ready to export this thing. And I'm going to call it Pat Crew Mike. That's who I am. RTP 4500 PX, which is the width of 15 inches. And then we can go admire it. So there is our artwork. And that's what it looks like against a darker background. So I think this is only going to go well on lights. And we could definitely fix that by putting a stroke or just choosing a different color for the crew part. That's something that actually really bothers me with this design overall, is I wish that, you know, it went on more colors. But it's certainly going to work, and this is what I'm going to send back to the customer. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for learning along with me how to clean up some artwork. Take care.